Good afternoon and welcome to LinkedIn Live, December 12th. I know a lot of you are doing strategic planning right now, and I developed what I think is a really simple one-page chart that you can follow to help you make decisions on where you both spend your time and money when it comes to strategic planning in 2020. And I think this is especially appropriate now because as more and more of these platforms, especially social media, come online, I hear more and more questions from people about where should we be allocating our time? Should we be on Instagram or on TikTok, or is LinkedIn dead, or is Facebook dead, or all these ideas that I think get floated by those maybe who don't actually do the work every day. So we're just going to walk through this chart and hopefully you find it helpful. So what we're going to talk about is this one-page document that you see in front of you right now. Can you please check LinkedIn to see if I'm live? Because I'm not sure if it's actually working. You can go on LinkedIn. Thanks. All right, bear with me just because last time we had a little bit of an issue. All right, looks like it's working all right. Okay, cool. Thanks, Mike. All right, so if we talk about this document, what I want you to think about is in developing a strategy, oftentimes this is predicated upon a specific business objective. So to build the strategy first, to build whatever it is that we want to execute on, we need to know what we want to have happen. And that's not something that I can tell you what to do. That has to be based, again, on your business objective. So once you have that figured out, here's then that hierarchical strategy. If we build out this strategy to have three distinct components, I think this will help you a lot when it comes to how do we allocate resources we have versus those that we don't yet have. So if I were to sketch this out sitting with you, the way I'd look at this then is, first thing I'd identify is basically doing an audit of what you have, doing the resources that you have in-house. And going a step further then, I would think about having those existing personnel with the skills that you need fall into simply one column. And this is really about handling capacity, it's about handling resources, it's trying to figure out where to get people to spend their time so they're executing on the strategy that you put forth. So the hardest part as of that point, once you have existing personnel that have the requisite skills to do the things that you need done, is choosing the tactics to execute. And this, as I stated earlier, is getting much, much more difficult than what it used to be, because now we all have extensive to-do lists, and oftentimes we really don't even know where to start or if we're doing the right thing. So what I would propose here when it comes to your to-do list is think about the things and do the work and analyze the results. And the reason I say that is oftentimes we look to other people first to give us ideas and execute on those ideas, but what I'm going to discover, or at least what I discovered, and I think you'll discover as well, is that when you start to execute on things, you're going to get results that differ from what the public sentiment is or what the gurus have told you. And the more that you can actually do this yourself, ascertain what works for you, and go from there, the better off you're going to be. So it might be popular to think in terms of, well, LinkedIn is for business as an example, and Facebook is not, but in your business, Facebook might really be effective for you and LinkedIn not as much. So again, do the work that you can and analyze results. Equally as importantly though, I think you have to know as of this point with your existing personnel that has the skills necessary to do the work, understand what not to do. And so what I fill in here is be 100%, be 100% okay with what you're not doing. And then also be sure that you revisit that periodically, because I think it's really important, especially if you report up the chain of command to somebody, that you know what it is that you're not doing. And the reason why this is especially important is if you ever get pulled into meetings and people say something like, hey, I saw on 60 Minutes that everybody's doing Instagram stories. Are we doing Instagram stories? The worst thing to answer is, I don't know, should we? The best answer is, we've thought about this, we decided it doesn't fit within our strategic plan, and we listed it as something we're not doing. And if somebody wants you to change that, that's where you can ask for more resources, which segues nicely into the second column. Second column then is resources we don't have. I'm just going to pull this text a little bit smaller so everything gets bigger. There we go. What you're not doing. Yeah, that should be better. Okay. So the second column is resources we don't have. These are the things that you know that you don't have, which is going to be distinctly different than the third column that we'll talk about in just a little bit. Resources we don't have gets split up into two aspects. The first is a lack of personnel, in other words, a lack of bodies, a lack of hours, a lack of people to execute on things. And in that case, if you go down a little bit further, you can think in terms of either hiring somebody or outsourcing. Hiring is a pretty obvious one. Outsourcing is trying to find a partner with the skills and aligns with you. So this is trying to find that partner, that strategic partner, like the company that we run, AmpliPhi, to find out if they are a good fit for what it is that you're trying to achieve with your business. So those are really the two options here. If we're at capacity with the people that we have on staff that have the requisite skills, and we feel like we have a lack of resources because of a lack of personnel, you can either hire somebody, onboard that person, or outsource for a specific set of tasks, or maybe a larger set of tasks if you feel that appropriate. The other resource that we don't have that you can knowingly not have is a lack of skills. And this might be if you look at your marketing department as an example and you go, you know what, I think if we did some digital stuff, some social media retargeting as an example, and did it really well, we'd probably positively affect our business development process. But you might have a lack of skills in that area where you have the personnel, but you don't have the skills. And in this case, we train. And there's a lot of resources out there to look up what it is that you want to learn, or you can hire somebody to help train your staff. And here at AmpliPhi, we actually do both of these things. We will be your outsourced partner, but then we also train your staff in-house. And I think this is really, really important, because the more that we play in this space and the more that we face competitors in this space, the more I hear people coming to us and saying, you know, we have this company that's supposed to do this work right now, but they say this is this nebulous black box, and they can't tell us anything unless we ask them specifically for something. They can report back. Or even worse, the company will say, we're going to deliver you what it is that we think you want, as opposed to what you're asking for. And I think it's imperative now that as we all get better, as we all get smarter at our respective jobs, it's really, really important to have people internally that know the things that your partners are executing on. And I'm not talking down to the granular level where they really have to start pushing buttons and executing on things, but it's really important that they at least know what to look for to see what success looks like, because otherwise, if you have a partner of ill repute, they might decide on your behalf, and that might not work as well as hoped. So we have these two first columns: resources we know that we have. We have the resources we know that we don't have. And the last one, and this is especially difficult now in this ever faster moving environment in which we play right now business-wise, is resources we don't yet know about. Meaning we don't know what we don't know, which is really, really common, right? So the first option is to engage a consultant. And after you engage a consultant, what I'm going to ask you to do is take those findings and apply to these other two columns, right? So take a trusted source of information, find somebody, and ask that person, hey, if you were us and you took a step back and audited what it is that we do, how would you apply what it is that you know to either this column, meaning the people that we already have, how do we rejigger what it is that they're doing, or the middle one, understand the resources we don't have, and can you help us hire a new person or a partner? And again, this is a lot of the work that we do, where we will help hire somebody's CMO as an example, or we'll find a good resource for somebody to say, let's make sure that you outsource this to a reputable company. And then this other one is the one I really want to concentrate on as far as DIY research. And what I would propose here is I want you to limit your sources and start. Okay, by that I mean now that information is ubiquitously available on the internet for free, you're going to find anything that you look for. And you're going to find two variations of anything that you look for, version A and version B, and they're going to completely be at odds with each other because you have two experts that are going to say the exact opposite from one another. So what I'm going to ask you to do is at least gather as much information as you can. Start with Google, because I think it's a great source where you can start typing in questions and finding those answers, or finding those specific terms perhaps of which you're not aware at this point, that you don't know. But I think it's really, really important at a certain point to limit those sources from which you're gathering information and start to apply that. So if this is the consulting portion where that's shortcutting this process, right? Where you have more money than you do time, that's a really good place to be. But here with the DIY portion, if you have more time than you do money, and you can allocate your personal time or this time of your staff to figure out, hey, what do we not know? What do we knowingly now, once we do the research, not know? And where do those things fall? Do they fall over here into allocation of resources that we have, or do we look at a further point here? I hope this helps when it comes to building out your strategic doc. If you found this valuable, either watching live or in the recording, let me know and I will make this document available to you. Otherwise, I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week, and thanks so much for tuning in. Okay, see ya.